Alright guys, welcome back to another nifty network video. Today I'm going to teach you how to remove your diff and how to remove your axles. Yeah, let's get to it. To get the Y pipe off, I have a 14 with a wobbly. This seems to work really well. Even if the nut is super rusted, just make sure that the socket is all the way down and you don't slip off, so just do that. I mean, you can see this one, it was pretty rusted and it came off with ease. Obviously this gun helps a lot, but having a impact socket and a wobbly, it'll make your life way easier. So get those 4 front 14s off, and then we'll come to the back of the Y pipe, same thing. And then once you got the Y pipe freed up, get a pry bar and just kind of push back a little bit because the rubber bushings will have play. So just pop this off of there, pop it below. Same thing on this side. Make sure to hold on to the Y pipe because when you take the front off, it's gonna want to fall. And then this just wiggles off. And once you get the Y pipe off, I like to work from right here. So get a 12 wrench to the top. You would think that you take it off from the bottom with that nut. Don't do that because you'll strip that. So loosen this up a little bit, and then I'll rotate this clamp, and then I'll take it off the rest of the way with an impact. And this side's already taken off, but basically you do the same thing over here. There's the same clamp right here because it's dual exhaust, and then you'll have this sleeve. And I always like to take off everything that's gonna like require 2 hands at first. So right now, basically this brace is holding the front part of the pipe up, and then this is holding the rear up. So now I'm gonna go to these 2 in the center, because if I take those off, it's not gonna fall on me. It'll come down a little bit, but at least it won't fall on you. So there's that. Now you can see that this is all loose. Now you can work up right here and twist that and pull that out. And this thing didn't fall on me. So then you just slide this out, and then you have the midsection out. And then now that we have the exhaust out of there, we'll go to this bracket, or this brace. That's 412. And then you'll grab a 10. You're gonna take these shields off. So there's 2 10s here. And then there's 4 10s on the rear section. And pull that down, and that will expose the drive shaft. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab a 12 wrench and come up here. You're going to want to loosen this. This is your shift linkage. So I'll show you why I'm doing that right now. So instead of like getting back in the car and putting it in park, basically all the way back is park, and then that you count the clicks. So there's 1 click, so that's reverse, and then that's neutral. So this should allow the drive shaft to spin freely so that we can go around the bolts back here on the diff. So on those, they're going to be 17s, and I grab a wobbly and a 17, and most of the time you don't even need to hold a wrench on here. You can just do it with your fingers. So just pull those off. And when you're pulling the drive shaft bolts off, you don't have to pull all these off. Just make sure, like, look at it and see which one is connected to the actual diff. So you only have to take 3 of the 6 off. Okay, so now those are off. We're gonna grab a 14. And there's a center support bearing right here. So now you're gonna wanna hold the drive shaft up because it can fall on you. Okay, so once that's loose like that, you want to slide the carrier bearing out, or slide it down, and then you're going to want to go forward, and that pulls out of the diff. So I got the drive shaft off of this, and I got the exhaust off of this. Now it is time to get the diff and the axles out. I'm going to start with the axles, and then get those out of the way, and then I'll do the diff. So first thing first, I'm going to take this tire off right here, so that I can access the axle nut on the outside. So take this tire off. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to get the cotter pin out of the axle nut. So I'll just work that straight, basically. Give it a little pinch up top. Slide that out. And the axle nut size is a 32 millimeter. I like to leave these. Oh, this one's actually going to slide nicely. So sometimes the axle stub will actually get stuck in the hub, but on this one you can see that it'll slide out. So on this one we can undo this all the way, and we'll go to the other side. No, we'll do this side first. So you're going to want to get a flathead screwdriver, and the one that I use my broken flathead for this one. So you're gonna want to put the flathead inside the rotor like this, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna cause the rotor to not spin. So you can go to the inside of where the axle touches the diff, because if I didn't have that on there, the axle isn't gonna give me any resistance to loosen the bolt off here. So I use this as like a pin basically, and then you can loosen everything. So I'll go through these. So yeah, we'll just make our rounds on these, get all these taken off. So we're gonna have 6 axle bolts to take off. And this part will go pretty quick. So once you have this out like this, and your nuts out on this side, you literally just pull, and just like that, your axle's out. All right, so now I'm gonna do the other side. It's the same as the other side that I just showed you, but the other side, and then after that we'll take the diff out. Oh, there we go. Cool.
Is that trick just in case it's hard?
The trick is, so you keep this on here. Say that was all the way down, not all the way down, but majority. I'll get a 1/2 inch extension and I'll set it inside here, because that allows you to hit the front of the axle shaft without like knurling the edges of it, so that when you undo this, you know that you didn't hit the edge of the thread, so you know that the bolt or the nut will still thread onto that. Because if you hit the edge of this thread, like with a hammer, it'll bend that thread over and you won't be able to get this nut on, basically. So that's just a little trick that I do to keep the punch or the extension or whatever you're using to beat the shaft out of there. It just keeps it straight, basically, and allows it to not get messed up. Look at my sweat just running down my arm. All right, so same thing. Get the axle up and then just slide it out. And that was very, very, very easy compared to how it normally is. I don't want you to watch that video and be like, wow, what am I doing right? Or what am I doing wrong? All right, so now that we've gotten to the diff, there's going to be two 12s right here that hold the wheel speed sensors on. Just going to unbolt those. And then the diff is pretty simple. I mean, it's heavy, but it is pretty simple. So just be careful when you're doing it. Make sure that if you are on the ground, that you're not in the way of the diff when it comes out. Alright, so those two sensors are out. The wheel speed sensors now. What I like to do is I'll take the sway bar off. This was already disconnected. This sits right here. That sits right there. Just, I'm sure you see it if you're working under your car right now. But there's two 14s that take this off. And then that swings down like that. And then there's another 14 on each side. So I'm going to take the sway bar completely out of my way so that when I put the jack under here, this isn't in my way. Nice. Alright, so sway bar's off. Alright, now you have a bunch of freed up space. There's a breather tube up here that you can get to when you drop it. So we can get to that. Yeah, let's drop this thing. So what I do when I'm doing this is I'll take one of the ears off. The bolts right here, the 17's going up into the subframe. I'll take one of those off and leave the other one so that I know that the diff's not going to fall on me. And then also back here in this opening, there is a 17. So you have to put your socket in first and then slide your ratchet onto there. These normally are really tight, so don't be alarmed. So once you have that broken loose, you can pull the nut completely off of it, because that's a stud on there, so you don't have to worry about the back of the diff falling down. It's like in a tube, so it's kind of hard to get to. Okay. Alright, so the nut is out. Now we're going to grab our trans jack. And if you are doing this on the floor, you can use like a normal floor jack. Just jack it up from right here. Or not jack it up from right here. Set the jack under it right here. And then take all those bolts out and do it the same way. Once you get to this last ear, it'll obviously come out. And yeah, be safe. Okay, so that was the last bolt. We're going to lower this down. Make sure that this is sturdy on here. And once you feel the tension of the diff kind of coming up, there's a bleeder up here. Do you see it? That tube going across? Okay, so you're going to see a little clamp up here. And you should be able to pinch it with your fingers and slide that off. So now the diff is completely free. And we can come down with it. But just be careful when you're moving these things around. You'll think that it's super balanced and then last second it'll fall. So if you're using one of these trans jacks, be careful. And if you're on the ground, at least it's not going to fall 6 feet. So there you go. Pretty simple. That is how you get axles and a diff out of a G37.